All right, let's dive into something that every single one of us deals with, that nonstop internal chatter in our own heads. You know what I'm talking about. Today, using the incredible work of Dr. David R. Hawkins, we're going to explore why that chatter is always there and, maybe more importantly, what we can actually do about it. So let's start with the big question. Why can't you stop thinking? It sounds so simple, right? But it's also deeply frustrating. I mean, have you ever really tried to just stop? To tell your mind, okay, quiet down now. If you have, you know it feels pretty much impossible. The thoughts just keep rolling in whether we want them to or not. I love this quote from Dr. Hawkins because it just perfectly captures how absurd our minds can be. Dippity booty, fishies in an itty bitty bowl. He uses this silly, nonsensical phrase to point out the sheer randomness of it all. One second you're thinking about something from when you were a kid, the next a dumb commercial jingle pops in, then you're worrying about tomorrow. It's just this endless stream of mental noise, and we can't seem to find the off switch. And this gets us to a really crucial point. Trying to fight your thoughts directly is a battle you're always going to lose. Dr. Hawkins explains that this mental activity, this mentation, it just multiplies faster than you can possibly deal with it. You know, for every one thought you try to push away, it feels like 10 more pop up to take its place. We're not really the masters of our thoughts. In a lot of ways, we're kind of their victims. Okay, check this out, because this is a brilliant little piece of logic. Just think about it for a second. If you were your thoughts, if that's what you truly were, you'd be in charge. You would have total control. You could just say stop, and they'd stop. But they don't, do they? And that right there proves that you, the real you, must be something else entirely, something separate from that stream of thinking. You're the one who's experiencing the thoughts. So that realization is a total breakthrough. If you are not your thoughts, then what or who are you? Well, the answer is, you're the witness. There's a part of you that is simply aware of the thoughts, just watching them float by without being them. And identifying with that part, that is the first real step toward freedom. This question, right here, this is your key. The next time you catch yourself lost in thought, ask this. When you say, man, I'm really thinking about work, who is the I that knows that? It can't be the thought itself. It's something behind the thought, an awareness that's just registering what's happening. That is the silent witness. This is such a great way to understand the difference. Think of it as content versus context. Your thoughts, all those memories, daydreams, little stories, worries, that's the content. It's always changing, always flickering, like movies playing on a screen. But you're the context. You're the silent, formless, unchanging screen of awareness that all that content appears on. You couldn't even perceive a single thought if it weren't for that silent background. So, if we're not our thoughts, then why on earth are we so stuck in them? Well, this is where we get to the real heart of the problem. Dr. Hawkins says the ego has this deep, almost narcissistic investment in thinking. It actually gets a secret little pleasure, a hidden payoff from all this constant mental activity. Let's be honest, we're kind of in love with our own thoughts. We think they're fascinating, they're important, they're so profound, just because they're ours. As Dr. Hawkins points out, we treat our own thoughts like they're precious gems, but if somebody else starts sharing their inner world, we're often quick to dismiss it as, stupid. That's the ego's vanity right there. And what are these secret little payoffs? Well, think about it. Inside our heads, we can win all the arguments we lost in real life. We can mentally punish people who hurt us. We can get even. We can rewrite history so that we come out looking like the hero. We indulge in these little mental movies because they give us this secret egotistical thrill. We're basically addicted to that feeling. Okay, so we understand the problem. We see the ego's secret addiction. So what's the solution? What do we actually do? Well, it's a very practical technique called the practice of surrender. And this isn't about fighting your thoughts. It's the opposite. It's about letting them go. It's about learning how to nip thoughts in the bud before they can grow into a whole big thing. Now, this is maybe the most important shift in perspective you have to make. You can't really stop a thought once it's already there. But what you can do is surrender the underlying desire to think it. See, every train of thought starts with a little spark, a little energetic urge that wants to indulge in that story. That's your target. Dr. Hawkins gives this amazing example about his dog, Bao. At first, thinking of Bao might trigger this huge, long story about his life and death that ends in tears. But with practice, you start to catch it earlier. You catch it when it's just a paragraph. And then you catch it when it's just a sentence. I remember old bow. With more practice, you catch it at the single word or the initial image, bow. The ultimate goal is to get so sensitive that you can feel that formless energy, that pre-verbal urge that wants to become the thought of bow, and you just surrender it right there, before it even takes shape. So as you get better and better at this practice of surrender, it leads you to a final, really profound place. But it requires letting go of something that we hold really, really dear. It is, as Dr. Hawkins calls it, the ultimate sacrifice. You see, the final step isn't just about surrendering one thought after another. It's about surrendering the very identification of yourself as a thinker. It means letting go of that whole mechanism of thinkingness and the little ego self that wants to take credit for it all. And this, of course, leaves us with the ultimate question. If you let go of all the thoughts, and then you let go of the identity of the one who's doing the thinking, what's left? If you are not that constant chatter in your head, then who or what are you really? That's definitely something to think about. Or maybe not think about.